It was beautiful. Roll the intro. Welcome to another episode of the Impossible Variety Podcast and another edition of the Beatsby series. We have a good conversation today, so much so that I had to get two guests in on it to actually be able to tell the story about this album, right? To actually be able to give you all the details and give you all my takes and everything, because boy, what an album that we have here. Sleep Token, Take Me Back to Eden. That came out just a little bit over a month ago. We've had a month or so to kind of sit in it. It was a good conversation that I had with my partner, Symantha Morales, and my friend, Emily Northup. Before we get into that and our full conversation and deep dive into the album, I just want to remind you to hit subscribe on Apple Podcasts and follow on Spotify, and make sure that you are tuning into my Twitch channel. We actually live recorded this. You might hear some stuff on Twitch, where we're going to be at twitch.tv/eimpossible. I've been doing a lot of stuff over there. I like to stream Sundays and Mondays, so make sure that you're following there. And if you really want to help out the channel and everything, subscribe over there, donate over there. I do a lot through my Twitch channel, but I really appreciate what you do. And if you are an Amazon Prime member, you can hook up your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and you'll get a free monthly sub that will go towards your favorite creator. So I appreciate you doing so. And without further ado, let's get into our conversation about Take Me Back to Eden from Sleep Token. I have two very special guests with me today. I'm very excited to have them. So we've got my partner on the romantic and everything level, Symantha Morales, over here with me in person. And on the virtual side of things, we have Emily Northup, who is joining us from way up in northern Maine. Gang, here we are. All right, cool. So we've had about, like I said, a month to kind of soak in this album thus far. I was gonna do this podcast like a little bit after the album came out, but one, I wanted to let it sit, and two, I decided to have an end of this school year. I just decided to have that. So I had to sit on that. But Emily, we'll go with you first. If you had one sentence to describe this album, what would it be?
One sentence. Oh. I had one earlier too, and because I was prepared for this question, and I can't even think. There's I don't even know how to describe this album.
Let's come back to you. Symantha, do you have yours?
Yeah. Do you remember what mine is?
Oh no, wait. I should remember, but yes, I remember. But you should tell the audience.
My sentence was, "Yes, please."
Yes.
So ambiguous. Yeah, no, seriously though. So my sentence to describe it was, my sentence to describe this album is like if you were to go to church, but you can sin inside of the church, and then at the end of the evening on your way out, the person who owns the church will give you a hug on the way out. That's what I describe this album as. And honestly, it's kind of fitting just with the overall chronological sequence of the album, especially the way it ends too.
Yeah, you did come up with the end part of that sentence
while
listening to the last.
I was, and I was like, oh, yep, I got it. It felt like it was inconclusive, but we got it. Emily, can you come up with yours?
Yeah, it's like a quick play movie of storming through hell, but also running through the rain, but also finding the love of your life, but also losing the love of your life and experiencing every human emotion all at once.
So Nicholas
Wild turned
Sparks? Nicholas Sparks and like
They're like in heavy metal.
it's like if you took Nicholas Sparks and put like a black cover on their books instead of like a purple cover. I feel like all of his books
Yeah,
are
if
like
you
very bright.
yeah, they are. They're very like pastel and like girly covered. If you had like Nicholas Sparks made into music and then like loaded it with sexual tension and heavy metal, that's Sleep Token.
Correct.
That's good.
That
That's a good
yes,
sentence.
that's it. All right. So let's dive into kind of the general idea. So if you're new to Sleep Token and you have no idea what Sleep Token is, both on the listener end and the podcast and the Twitch end of things, Sleep Token is an anonymous group who they are classified as metal, but they're really not. They do this great uh thing of blending genres between like R&B, between soul. There's like so much there. And when you first look at Sleep Token, the aesthetic gives you like death metal vibes, and it's so opposite from death metal at all. Like they drop screaming quite a bit, but they don't do screaming all that much. I think they have like maybe 3 or 4
Layers with
tunes
it.
in the whole catalog.
Yeah, he does layer with it.
Oh, that
He
is true.
layers with
Yes,
the
he does.
screaming.
What's up, Myth?
Hello, my son.
Hello, Myth. Everyone on the podcast is going to be confused, but yes, we shout you out on Twitch if you're watching this recording live. But anyways, yeah, no,
It's one of my mods.
yeah, they do a great job with blending, and I will say the 2 key members, not that the other 2 members are not important, but the 2 members that I always have an eye on are 2, who I think's the drummer. Is 2 the drummer? I don't remember. Okay.
Yes.
So that's the other thing with the Anonymous Collective. They don't really have names. The singer's known as Vessel, and the drummer, bassist, and guitarist are known as 2, 3, 4. But I personally only pay attention to Vessel and 2. The other 2 members are important, but you know.
Damn, how you gonna do 3 like that?
I mean, they all have really like, but those are the 2 that pop out at me the most. That was like the first thing that I thought when I first did.
It's just because he's a drummer.
It is because I'm a drummer. That you're right. You are right. Yeah.
Also, slut for drummers, so I get you.
Uh, but yeah, no. Anyways, so what was it? When you first started listening to Sleep Token, Emily, what was your first thought?
I was honestly mind blown. I didn't have a first thought when I listened to them. I don't remember the first time I even listened to them. It's been so long, and I don't even remember what the first song was that I heard by them. I just like went down the rabbit hole though. I can't remember what it was, but I think I really went down the rabbit hole when they started releasing these new singles. They released Chokehold, and I thought Chokehold was really good. But then they released The Summoning, and I was like, oh my god, because they're very experimental. Like you said, they use they base it off metal, I think, but they also have a lot of R&B and gospel influence.
Gospel, yeah.
Yeah, one of the top experimental bands. And yeah, they're actually the reason I started getting into because I like experimenting with my music. As you've heard, it's very like all over the place depending on the song, and even in a song I change mine a lot. So then when I found them, and I was like, oh, I'm not the only one that wants to do music like this. So I think that was my first thought. Was it was almost like a relief. I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy for wanting to make music like this because someone else is doing it. But they got me into like layering vocals a lot and trying to use that gospel influence on it with the heavy music in the background, and it's so cool. So that was kind of my first. That was kind of my first thought when I started listening to Sleep Token. Was like,
yeah. Now, Samantha, you started. Yeah, you started listening to Sleep Token because of me. What were your first thoughts?
I'm trying to think of the first song you showed me.
That I don't remember. I think I showed you Offering. I think that was the first one. Maybe I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I think I just remember being like, I think we were listening to it either in the car or in the kitchen, and I think I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, who are these people?
And that was the question, right? And still nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Well, what's really cool is that I mean there are a lot of people that know about it, but the people that know who Sleep Token are are keeping it private, and they're
businesses.
very deliberately keeping it anonymous right there. Like, they're obviously, their manager definitely knows who they are. Their crew definitely probably knows who they are and everything, but they're not going to tell you anything.
There's also speculation within the fan base, but I think once someone figures it out, then they make the conscious choice to be like, this is part of the experience, so we're just gonna like keep this to ourselves and not like
Yeah.
make that decision for other people to decide whether they want to know or not. Um, because for some people that is like one of the most important parts of the experience.
Well,
So
yeah, I think having them be an anonymous collective gives it a whole new meaning because we're not. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that has to do with Vessel and everything, and a lot of googling eyes that happen to go over Vessel.
thirsting.
Yes, much thirsting for
Thirsting.
Vessel. Vessel the singer. For those who are kind of getting into Slate Token and everything, his overall like live, and also just kind of general outfit basis is he wears his mask on stage and everything, and it's a signature mask that has the logo on it of the entire band as a whole. And he wears a hood. Like, you really can't see anything. He actually did a really good job with like covering everything up. He covers himself in like black paint just to like kind of really not give anything away.
Even under the mask.
Yeah,
He covers
As do the
face.
others. The others also disguise themselves really well.
they do. Yeah. I don't know how they see, but I mean, I think they have
Well,
like
they have eye holes.
they do have
Yeah.
like the eye holes, but I feel like the eye holes are so small too. like they look like penny sized. I'm honestly curious how they do it.
I mean, if you see their pictures on Instagram, you can see their eye pretty well.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was
but
thinking
they have
too.
like body paint underneath. I'm not surprised that two. I always wondered how two did drumming in a mask and like that cool jacket, but now he's been doing shirtless with body paint, and I'm like, good for you, buddy, because that looked way too hot being in a whole jacket.
I think he was for a while because I think he was in like cold venues and he was fine, but it's like summertime, he's getting hot. And also like they're also playing more headline shows, so he has to play more songs. So he probably was okay with like a bigger outfit initially, but now he's just like, nope, can't do it.
Say it could have been like a, I'm gonna make this choice. This is a good choice, and then you actually put it into practice, and then it's like this is not a good choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, that's kind of Vessel's whole deal. Um, and so a lot of really good stuff. I think Vessel's mainly like the most pioneering songwriter in their group, but doesn't two like also give a lot of like creative choice in it, or is it mostly just Vessel? I don't know.
The only info I will offer is that Vessel is the one that started the band.
Yeah, that's true. It's
Yeah.
kind of interesting because me and Samantha were talking about the original history of the band, and we'll get more into the album in a little bit, but we're kind of just deep diving in on Sleep Token a little bit. But the initial history of the band, they started out with like one specific lineup, and like there's been a big evolution. Like he started with, I haven't shown you yet, but there was a mask that they kind of designed with initially, and it kind of looks like the one it does now, but it had like a different like star shape, not like a star shape. It was like a line,
Design.
squiggly design shape on it and everything initially. And then it's morphed into like they actually have the logo now. But it's cool. I don't know how long they've had this exact lineup and everything, but they've had a long history. But anyways, let's get into Take Me Back to Eden, which is a new one. I don't know how they cipher this. I was just talking to Emily earlier. I don't know. So on the album, they're in the like the album cover, they have a cipher that translates to Take Me Back to Eden. I don't remember how they do the I don't remember how they did the cipher or anything. There was a cipher that a bunch of fans from Sleep Token's whole fan base like did the cipher, but I don't know how they did it. But anyways, it translates to Take Me Back to Eden, and if you want to see what that looks like, it's on the album cover right there. But I want to ask each of my guests here, and I'll go first in this. What are your two favorite songs off of the album? This is a very strong album. I honestly think this is a contention for 10 out of 10 album of the year. Honestly, I feel bad for anyone who has to release music this year because this is like one of the best. And I was highly expecting it like from the beginning. But anyways, my favorite two off the album are Euclid and Granite. When Granite first came out, they have like how the they came up with like characters and like different characters for each of the songs. So for Granite, it's like the one with the box head right there. And I wanted to get a shirt of that when it initially came out, but I didn't. I probably still will, but that was like one of my favorite. And also the song is very good. I'm not basing that off my favorite song. Like I'm not saying that the merch was cool, so I like that song, but that was let me clarify. But
That's like when a little kid is
yeah.
like, I like this sports team because I like this animal.
That's like you're like I like the uniform. I'm gonna cheer for that.
Yeah.
No, but I mean Granite was like, and we were just talking about this earlier a little bit. We had to save a little bit of our details. Granite proves that Vessel and Sleep Token can do whatever they want in terms of blending of genres and blending of textures, and it doesn't feel forced like at all. There's a lot of, and I was also telling her earlier that like they've kind of been doing experimental stuff like that since the beginning, so it doesn't feel as rushed and forced, but it still doesn't like, but it still isn't something, they're taking risks and they're doing something different creatively, but it's not something that's super jarring or going to put anyone off. And honestly, it's a pretty good way to introduce some people to heavy music because it doesn't have screaming in it. Yes, there's heavy guitars in it, but it's not like a heavyish song. And then Euclid made me, I don't want to say it made me cry the first time I ever heard it, but I was close. Honestly, the best way to cap off an album for me personally. I'll go into that a little bit later. But anyways, Emily, what are your two favorites off the album? Just
I
quickly
just had to
asking.
pull it up and look, but I already
Mhm.
knew my answer anyways. My number one favorite is Rain.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
song is stunning. The lyrics, as maybe it's just because I'm a lyricist as well, but like they're so stunning. I love his analogies that he uses in all of that, and just I can't even say like what my favorite lyrics are in the song. I absolutely love them. They're beautiful. And just the way he can start off with piano and then it gets in heavy distorted guitar and drumming and then he comes back to piano and then ends it. It's just so cool. It really shows there's a lot of depth to his words and the way he sings it there's a lot of depth and emotion and then the music behind it is so back and forth and dimensional. It's all around a very very good song in my obviously everything's subjective in this field but I think it's a very very good song. And for my second favorite song on the album, I go back and forth a lot honestly because I love Ascensionism. That one also has a lot of dimension. He's got I know everyone calls it rapping, it's not really rap but it's like a little bit I guess. It's got like more of an R&B kind of tone to it
yeah.
and then it
It's
gets
flow. It's straight up flow.
it's
I was thinking the same thing
yeah
too.
it's got really good flow, but he also has like, like rock and metal drumming to it, and then it drops in with like they always go for like dropped A sharp, and I love that every time. And then like they drop tune their guitar and just get so heavy in that song too. So that's probably one of my favorites. But honestly, Granite is up there too with Ascensionism. I love Granite. I can listen to that on repeat. It's so good.
Yeah,
I've been meaning to
Ascensionism.
cover Granite. I just haven't done it yet.
When I was thinking of that song, like I saw the track list and saw that there were two, not one, but two 7+ minute songs, Ascensionism being one of them. And I was like, oh, we're getting a 7.5 minute Sleep Token song. This is gonna be the best thing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, no, I get that. I have to tell people all the time, or yeah, I have to tell people all the time because some people think and get confused with like rapping and singing, which are two different things. It can be hand in hand and everything, but I've always considered rapping more less pitched, more rhythmic.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and singing's more along the lines of it's more pitched, but you also sometimes have like a really good blend of like where it could be down the line,
Yeah.
really fast flow, really, but like with some pitch to it, and everything. So I do get that, which kind of feels like it here, but that's up for everyone to decide. What
I'll
are
word
your
it
two?
this way. So instead of, it's not really rap, but it's not typical melody for a metal song, which
Yeah,
Ascensionism is a metal song. It is like in the metalcore genre. So it's like it's just got like really cool flow and it's very unique.
yeah,
Yeah.
factual. What are your two favorites, Samantha?
All right, so piggybacking off of you, actually, when I listened to Euclid for the first time, I texted you and I was like, "Why?"
You listened to it in the wrong order.
Okay,
You
whatever.
listened to it in the wrong order.
Shush.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I didn't have Spotify Premium.
That's fair.
when
That's
I
fair.
listened to it, okay?
I
When
get
you
it.
finally decided to get me Spotify
I
Premium
did
on
get you
your account.
premium, literally right afterwards because of this.
That was like the second song I listened to because it had to be out of order.
It had to be. Yeah, you're right.
And yeah, I texted you and I was like, why do I want to cry? Like the first, or whatever, the second song I listened to, like now I'm gonna start crying. Great, cool. With especially with the callback at the end of that song and just the lyrics and yeah. So I won't talk much more about that because I think we're gonna get into some of that in another question. Yeah.
But yeah.
And then my second favorite, I think the second one that I really had like the most visceral reaction to was probably The Summoning.
Oh yeah.
Because I'd heard all of their singles that were released, but so all of those like I'd already listened to for however long they were out for, but when I heard The Summoning, I was like, what the I was like, this is crazy. Just musically and lyrically. There's just always so much going on.
Well, that's the thing, you never know what to expect with this band. Like, I didn't know what to expect with any of the singles coming out, really. And that's a fun thing about it. You never know what to expect, but it's always fresh. So what ended up happening, I'll tell a little backstory. So what ended up happening was that Symantha accidentally listened to the album in the wrong order, and she had to do it that way because she listened to a shuffle mix on YouTube. And because of the shuffle mix on YouTube, it went in different or wait, did it do?
No, it was on Spotify.
Oh, it was on Spotify. Okay.
Yeah.
So she didn't have Spotify Premium at that time, and so she had to listen to it out of order. And so it like, where did you start? It was like, so you did the first 5 singles and then,
I think.
or did it start?
I think when it started, it might have started with Granite, because I think it started with a song like the shuffle started with a song that I had already heard before, and then it went to Euclid. And then I think it went to The Summoning after that.
Yeah.
Because I think I had those reactions like one after.
Your listening experience was a little bit interesting, but
I don't know. I think
it worked out well.
It worked out fine.
Yeah.
Because I've listened to it now from
That's
beginning
true.
to end in order, but I think it can be a whole new experience listening to it out of order.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. I listened to it. I kind of wonder how it would be if I listened, like, erased my memory and tried to listen to it out of order. That'd be interesting.
Because then you just focus on like the songs themselves rather than like the succession of
Yeah.
how they come.
That is true.
After
Yeah.
each other.
I like to think of track order sometimes, but
I also was at work. So
yeah,
I
that's
had
true.
I had to play a couple songs, stop it to do other things, and then so it kind of just let me focus in on each song.
Yeah.
So
That's true. That is true. So, going based on that, going off to the next topic. Strong points of the album. Personally, my strong points is the track order for me was a very good track order. Ending with Euclid was insane. I'm not even lying to you. So literally Euclid started playing, and then for Euclid, what ends up happening near the end of the track is that they do a throwback, or not a throwback, but they do a callback in a different key to one of their first songs off of Sundowning, which started the whole thing. They do a callback to their song "The Night Does Not Belong to God," which is my favorite song, so much so that I literally have it tattooed on my body. And so when they did that, I was driving in my car, and I'm not even lying to you. 10 minutes. I drove down the road 10 minutes in complete silence after the album was over, just like, and that was it. Okay, 10 minutes. I literally was like, did they just do that? That's insane. And I was like, this is an interesting Friday. What were I also really liked the production of it. So a music critiquer that I'm not a huge fan of in the world said that the production was the reason that they felt it was quote unquote not humane enough, like didn't give any human emotion. And I'm like, shut up, dude. Come on. like you're entitled to feel that way, but come on. Emily, what do you think your strong points of the album were? You were talking about the lyricism, I think, of it.
Yeah, I think that's just because I write lyrics. Like I'm a songwriter, so that's one of the first things that always stands out to me is how someone is putting their words into melodies, and I just can't help but notice that very first thing. Um, I also really, really love that they sampled their own song as well. Like the way they changed the key of that and Euclid just was stunning. I listened to it over and over because I was like, this is so beautiful. And I actually remember Charlie texting me when he was listening to it, and he's like, oh my God, is this from The Night Does Not Belong to God? I'm like, yeah, bro, it's insane. And we were like geeking over it.
You know that
I thought that
moment,
was incredible.
you know that moment in Ratatouille where you know that you know that moment in Ratatouille where like the food critic
Oh,
at
I
the
know.
end of the movie takes you know you know that okay you know you know where that moment in Ratatouille where the food critic at the end of the movie takes a bite of the food and then gets zoomed back to like his childhood where he had that exact food. That was the feeling that I had listening to that
Yes, that's the feeling that
song.
that song gave me too, bro. I was like, whoa. I was just
Zoom.
sitting in my car and I'm like contemplating my entire existence.
Oh.
I had no
But
idea where that was going, but
yeah, I
that's a
wasn't
fair
ready for
comparison.
that either, but
Uh,
that's
Oh.
fair. So
no,
anyways,
yeah, I was just
on a production level, I wasn't really sure what to expect because uh it wasn't I actually didn't look up who produced this album. I should. I just haven't like I've been kind of hyper focused on my own music and I haven't looked. Do you know who produced this album?
I don't know exactly who produced it, but I know that the person who produced it was different from This Place Will Become Your Tomb and was
It was
different from.
it was not George Lieber, and I
Yeah.
was kind of disappointed because I knew it wasn't going to be him, and I was like, I really like him. He's really good.
It's a
So I
new.
was kind of like
Yeah.
about it, but this new producer really kept Sleep Token's vibe strong, I think, with
Yes.
what George Lieber had done on the last albums. So I was really happy with that because I had no idea what to expect and I was a little nervous, but I was overall like really impressed with it because
Someone.
honestly, having a different producer can change the entire sound of your band.
Well, I feel like
mhm.
that's what crazy. That's kind of the crazy thing that helped elevate Sleep Token to a new extreme because, like, you have to be doing something right to go from 825K monthly listeners to literally 2 million at the start of the album cycle. That actually happened. So, the Summoning came out, or Choco came out, Summoning came out, and then there was like another, I think it was Granite and Aqua Regia that came out, and the
Hmm.
monthly listener count for Sleep Token went from 825K to 2 million in the course of like, I don't know, like 3 weeks maybe. It was insane. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. So like everybody was like tracking it, being like, are they hitting 2 million? Are they hitting 2 million? Are they hitting 2 million? And by everybody I mean probably me and maybe like three other people. But,
And I don't want to like discredit their new producer for this album because they did a fabulous job, honestly. And I'm like a huge George Lieber fan, and I think he did a great job on the last album too. I think what's really helped get them to this new level of streaming and fans is that it's more accepted in the metal industry to be more experimental. Like Bad Omens is very experimental on their last album, and they did a lot of producing themselves on it, and look how much they took off as well with the more experimental sound. And Bring Me the Horizon has really kind of paved the way of being experimental for the past
Yeah, no
10
kidding.
years.
Yeah.
They've really, really like, I don't want to give them all the credit, but like they really deserve a lot of that credit for bringing Jordan Fish on and like just going all out with experimental, and they made it work, and everyone got so used to it that now when other bands get even more experimental, like people are more accepting of it and give it a try, and they're like, oh, this is actually really good. So i feel like I feel like that's what's really led to the success of these bands that dabble in other genres, and because people are more accepting of it and realizing that, wow, distorted guitar and double kick really goes over anything and
It
sounds great.
can, yeah, honestly.
It it really does.
Well, I think, and like, it's also a thing with the, like, there's a lot of gatekeepers, especially in the metal community. If there are any metal
Yes.
listeners who think there aren't any gatekeepers, I'm sorry, there are. I'm sorry. Like, you can disagree with me and everything, but that's been a problem.
No,
And
it's the majority gatekeepers.
honestly, yeah, you cannot be a gatekeeper in the community. I actually saw someone who commented on an article one time, of not only Sleep Token but also one for architects and everything, and they basically were
Oh
being like,
yeah.
their exact words were, "We have to gatekeep to keep the music alive," and I'm like, no, no, that's not how that works. I'm like, how does that even compute to you, dude? But I mean, bands like Sleep Token and Bring the Horizon and Bad Omens are doing a great job of breaking down the walls again.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're done, buddy. You're done. You're done.
Cue the groans.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
No, I think
Okay,
one-
Brian Garris, chill.
I think one conversation that we've also had quite a bit is that with the gatekeeping, I think some of that comes from when metal bands do try something new out of left field without a lot of thought. Sometimes it does not go that well. And then fans of well-seasoned bands will get very upset with them trying new things. And I mean, I get that to an extent. I know that there's a new song in the new Avenged Sevenfold album that came out that I was like, I'm calling the police. This is not okay. They're not allowed to try new things. But I definitely think that Sleep Token, everything is so well thought out and so well blended in the songwriting and production and lyrics as well, that when they do throw so many genres together, it's not just careless.
Yeah, it doesn't feel forced.
Yeah, it doesn't feel.
Yeah.
It's seriously like anytime any of the what some people may call rapping, but is more of a rhythmic type of singing, comes in Sleep Token. Every time those parts come in, I just turn to Eric and I say, "This is what a lot of metal bands wish they were, but they're not," because it is so forced when they try to do, add that concept in.
Well, because a lot of metal bands revolve around screaming, and it's like a whole separate talent to be screaming. Like screaming's very, very different than doing a singing melody or something even more intricate and rhythmic, like you're referring to that Sleep Token does. It's just different strengths. So I feel like when you have the wrong voice for it, like Vessel has a very, very good voice for it. Honestly, he could do R&B, and as far as that goes, Noah Sebastian did some on Bad Omens too, and dabbled in the R&B voice, and he could also do a whole R&B album and get away with it probably. I feel like you just either have the voice for it or you don't, and you also have to have the ear for it to make it flow. Like it's not really something like people are very open to, and you can't, back to the word force, people try to force it just to do the new things, but you really can't. Like you either get it or you don't.
Yeah, I think it's also like the instrumentals matter so much for that as well. Like if you're gonna try
Yes.
something new, you have to change the style that you're trying to portray through your instruments as well. If you're just like, I feel like a lot of other rock bands and metal bands will just take what they already do and then try to add in something as intricate as, you know, as that, and then it just doesn't come off right. It comes off again as forced because there's not everything is changing together. It's just like they're like, oh, we can just take what we normally do and throw this, you know, rhythmic singing on top, and it will be fine because so and so did it, and it should be fine. But if you don't have the right instrumental for it, it really is
Yeah.
like, what are they doing?
They're missing the swing in the drums, and they're like, you gotta make your music a little more bouncy and add some swing to it, you know, not just beat down, break down the wall again type music.
Break down the wall again.
Sorry,
No,
I
so
love Knocked Loose. I'll always get that reference when I can.
good. I'm a little side bit. I'm literally going to see them just to try and see that song live. I love Motionless in White, but I'm trying to see that song
Yeah,
live
he was
and that
like-
song only.
It was like, yeah, they're coming. Motionless in White is coming, and also I guess in this moment will also be there. But I only care about hearing this one song.
I just to be clear, I do really like Motionless in White, but I've
Yeah.
been waiting to hear that one song of the new album for so long live. So anyways, but yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of, what was it? My favorite lyrical song of this entire album is "Are You Really Okay?" Because one, it's also like a big message about anti self-harm. And there's like a lyric in it. There's a lyric in it, I think, that is like crimson on, I think it's something crimson on the carpet, and then at the end of it, it's like, please don't hurt yourself again, please don't hurt yourself again. And I'm like, wow, okay. Thanks, Vessel.
Yeah, no, another let's cry. This.
I was like, all right, because you said so, I will accept your wishes.
Only because Vessel asked very nicely.
Yes.
Oh man. So anyways, I doubt it, but do you guys think there are any weak points of the album, like at all? I think it was a pretty strong album all the way through. The only thing I could see, like, so these are some other weak points that other people have, and it's mostly metal gatekeepers that have been doing it. But it's a lot of like, I think a lot of metal gatekeepers are also like not really a fan of all the electronic elements in part of it, but that's what's happening. They have to, there's a lot of adapting that has to happen. And like, this isn't something new that Sleep Token has done. They've done stuff like this from the beginning. So it just shows that like they haven't listened to their past discography anyways. And then also too, that they're not being like, oh, well, it's 2023. We have to try and mix sounds together.
And just because they have electronic elements doesn't mean that takes away from the talent of the musicianship of the band. Like,
Yeah.
if you listen to any of it, most of the things that just kind of make you go, oh yeah, that was really sick, or you know, that just gives you that goosebump feeling, has to do with just the musicianship within the band. It, you know, I feel like the electronic parts are just an added element, because like, why wouldn't you experiment with those things? Like, those things exist, like add more depth. So
Breaking shocking news: the singer of Slave Token is actually Drake.
oh, that. No thanks.
Well, according to everyone in my Discord server, I am the bassist. So I mean,
That'd be the weirdest. Let's come up with a
I don't play bass.
let's
I don't
come up
even play
with a
bass.
spoof Sleep Token lineup for a second. Let's just come up with that for a second. So we
Well,
got
they
singer
think Charlie's the drummer.
Charlie's the drummer. You're the bassist. Drake is the singer. Who's
Oh, we had said Zayn was the singer.
What?
like Zayn? Like One Direction Zayn?
Absolutely.
No. No.
It's better than Drake. At least Zayn
No.
can sing good R&B. It's better than Drake.
I mean, you're not wrong, but that's not the point. The point is that
Then what is the point?
Zayn. Yeah, I mean, he is
It could be
British.
Zayn.
He is British.
But
See,
if you
I'm onto
listen,
something.
they don't have the same.
I'm in the band. I would
They don't have
know.
the same tone.
Yeah, they don't have the same tone. But Zayn is more how do I word that nicely?
Well, he's more of a pop singer who sings like brightly.
Yeah.
It's like a brightly
Mm.
like.
Have you listened to Zayn's music?
I've listened to that one song about making the neighbors mad, and
Pillow Talk?
yes, that one.
Oh yeah, no, you gotta listen to his music. You actually gotta listen to Icarus Falls. That's a good album. I'll send you some later.
Is that a recent album, or is that like a few years ago?
It came out a couple years ago.
Because I know
new music
he
coming out
released
soon.
like that one single a few years ago from his solo album, but I didn't remember what it was.
No, he's got some really good songs actually. I'll send them to you.
I imagine. But anyways, there's like,
Anyways.
let's just say that it's no weak points at all. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 album. So let's talk about now the North American Rituals, aka the tour, that's coming up. So for listeners and for viewers on Twitch that don't know about this, Slate Token is finally, did I say finally? Finally going on a North American headlining tour. The last time we saw him, me and Samantha actually saw him. We went to Boston to go see them, and they were so it was a lineup of, it was Cherry Bombs, which was a burlesque metal act, Sleep Token, it was in this order too, Cherry Bombs, Sleep Token, Nothing More, and In This Moment. So I was like, we saw them teasing something, and we were like, okay, look, if they come as close to Boston, we're going to see them. They came, and like we felt so teased because they only had like 6 songs.
Yeah, it said on most of the lineups that they had throughout the tour that it was like supposed to be 9, and I think they only got through 7, and I was like, what the? I was like, this is, well, like, not that we weren't there to also see Nothing More.
Yeah.
But I was like, this was the main reason we came here. Play more.
Well, it also felt fast too, because what's really interesting is that when bands come to like the live stage and everything, and come to shows and everything, they do a lot of like small talk in between, like thank you so much, yada yada yada.
They didn't talk at all.
They don't talk. That's the whole.
Does not talk at all.
Well, that's the only thing. That's the thing with their secrecy, and their anonymity. There, like they don't even talk because they're that like on the down low about their identity, which is crazy.
I think they also use that as a form of like, this is the most important part of this for us is the music, which I think is another reason for the anonymity, because you know, they don't want to be seen as this person from this band. They're like a collective, and you know, don't.
When they first released Sundowning, I looked them up and everything, and this is all it said on like Wikipedia and like other websites. It just said they are a musical rock collective from England, and that was all that said. I was like, okay, fine then, keep your secrets. But I was
we
like,
love ominous.
I know. But it's. Oh, so at the show, I think it was, I don't know if it was the Room Below, but they did a few, like, and by they, I mean Vessel, did a live set. It was an acoustic live set. I don't remember if it was called From the Room Below or anything along those lines. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a set of European solo shows that he did. And he ended his shows with Bloodsport, but before he did, he actually recorded a robotic, like, recording of being like, thank you, audience, you guys saved me, you guys are the best, I appreciate you. But it was robotic. You couldn't hear anything human-like in it. It was, like, robotic to the point of, we know you're communicating with us, but obviously we can't really trace this back to you at all. So they filtered it, but that's kind of the whole anonymity. I wonder if they're gonna do anything along those lines with the tour.
Are they really gonna do a full show without anything else? You know,
like any talking of some sort.
Like
yeah.
I can picture it like the Sleep Token version of AJR, like how they had those like intervals of like recorded things.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
Bring Me the Horizon had that on their post-human tour last year.
Yeah. So I can imagine them doing something like that to break things up.
Yeah, for
Just want to know
sure.
who they're bringing with them. They haven't announced
Oh
who's
yes,
going
yes,
with
I
them.
do know this. So they finally actually got an opener. I meant to show Samantha on our
I think
drive,
you
but
did. You didn't show me like the music, but you showed me.
who it was. Yeah,
who it
yeah.
was, yeah.
So the opener for the tour is A.A. Williams. That's the artist's name. They're like, I just listened to a song. I think the song was called Evaporate. I'm gonna check that real quick so I can actually give proper credit to this artist. Um, she is like a mix of, yeah, the song's called Evaporate, but she's like a woman version of Typo Negative, which is really cool. It's kind of like a very dark, brooding vibe. It's kind of cool actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a song that I listened to first listen called Evaporate, but at least we have an opener. I heard somewhere like along the rumor mill that we were gonna have to just sit there for like an hour and a half with no like live music going on, and I'm like, this is so sad. I want to get there
No,
early.
That wouldn't. They would just start the concert.
Yeah.
At a time if they don't have an opener.
Well, like I heard from some places that some like at some shows they didn't have an opener, and when they didn't have an opener, they just played like house music, and that's all they did until Sleep Token came on at like 9:30.
That sounds silly.
It sounds
I volunteer as tribute. I will open for them.
Midnight Sabotage. Let's go. Let's go.
Now, that band name is dead. All my bandmates quit, so it's just me, solo act.
Just Northup. Honestly,
I'll have some alias name. Actually, I have some people that would totally play live with me too. So like, and
that's
I'll
a pretty
just, like,
nasty. That's a pretty nasty last name though. Northup. That's pretty good. That's honestly not bad.
I don't
We've
think
talked
I'm
about
gonna
it
use
before,
it.
but yeah, we
But
have
yeah,
talked about.
I've got people that would play for me, so I already know they would. If I'm like, hey, you want to come open for Sleep Token?
I would
They'd
open
bring
for
their
Sleep
gear
Token,
ready.
dude. I'd be freaking terrified the entire time, but yeah, I would be so. I would be
Yeah, could
so.
you imagine
I
having to
would
be
be
followed up by
shivering
Sleep
on
Token?
stage. I'd be like.
Nah, I'm gonna
And then
tell
Two's
them.
just
I'll
in the
message
corner
them,
with
be
like
I volunteer.
Two's like in the corner with his mask on. He's like got his arms crossed, and then he just backs up back into the shadows.
That sounds like a cartoon.
Does. But yeah, no. What's really cool, Emily, have you seen? You follow Sleep Token on all the socials. Do you see like all of the production that they do in their shows?
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm really excited about this because the production that they have in their shows, especially in the headlining setting, is gonna be magnifique. Because they got like three backup singers in the back. Number one, number two, they actually legit have Vessel's piano out there, so they're probably gonna be playing quite a bit of more piano-based tracks too. What else? I'm just excited to see him in a headlining setting
Yeah.
because when we saw them, when we saw them, it felt very fast because of the fact that they were kind of going from song to song. They had like transitions, but they didn't have like it was like pretty quick. It felt pretty quick because of the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of room in between that didn't have music. Like they moved their
Well,
set along very fast.
so being an opener, you kind of have to.
Yeah, that is true. Which I'm like, I actually, when we were at that show, there were a lot of Sleep Token shirts, like a lot
Yeah.
of Sleep Token
I
shirts.
think also something that contributed to feeling like it was going fast again. Like we weren't there to see the last band. Like I think we stayed for maybe 4 songs of the last band, and then we were like, yeah, we've seen this before. So it was just like Sleep Token, nothing more that we were really there for. So it was like, okay, half of what we're here for is done now. I want more.
All right, now here's the prediction. How many songs from the new album do you think they're actually going to play? I feel like they're playing a bulk.
I think half their set list will be from the new album.
You think so?
Yeah.
At least half of it.
I would think so. I feel like they definitely would probably be playing the singles at least. Like
I mean, I've seen some of the set lists that they're doing right now, as well. So
I don't know how out
we're
of order
going
it is.
too much of that.
I don't know how much
But
of the
they did.
singles.
They had some of the singles, but they had other ones on there too, and they did have some other songs from like Sundowning.
Yeah, they're
And
playing an old one. They're playing Nazareth, I think. I don't remember.
yes, that's
I
what I saw was Nazareth or something. I actually love that song, and I was so stoked to see that on the set list.
what's really cool. What's really cool about the what was I gonna say? Oh, the beginning of the track, "Take Me Back to Eden." This is kind of going back a little bit more to the album. The beginning, I was just telling Samantha earlier, the "Take Me Back to Eden" intro and everything kind of sounds like very early Sleep Token, like 1 EP, 2 EP Sleep Token. I thought that was so cool because I was like, oh, you're throwing me back. Ratatouille moment. Ratatouille.
Well, this being, because I think you explained it like this, that this is like the final chapter before a new.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, apparently according to many reports and many kind of like decipherings of the album, many kind of breakdowns of the album, apparently this was a whole trilogy. So Sundowning was the first album of the trilogy. Take This Place Will Become Your Tomb, the second, and then this is the final album of the trilogy. A lot of people think that the track "Take Me Back to Eden" is the technically finale of the album, and then Euclid is like the finale of the trilogy. Apparently, I have to read a little bit more about what it's a lot. It's a lot of like deep dive. It's very deep dive. I'd have to do some more research.
Especially with the callbacks, like
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. There's been more than one in this album.
that's true. What other callbacks were they? I don't remember.
Okay, but to be fair, Bring Me the Horizon does callbacks to their songs too.
Do they? I don't remember.
Sometimes, once in a while, they do. They like
Okay.
reference other songs. I've heard it. Like it's very, very subtle though.
I think this one was super obvious, on like both on callback of the musical level and also the lyrical level. Like it was very hard to miss the callback for this one.
Yeah. Yeah, those were pretty obvious. Like they were meant to stay, but you also have to remember too, like when you're in the studio making music, I mean, I have so many songs that aren't even gonna make the EP working on right now. And so
Mhm.
you go back and like reuse songs. So he probably I mean, this is a reach too, but like The Night Does Not Belong to God, for instance, how they referenced that in this new album, that song might have supposed to have been how this song, the new one is, Euclid. That might have how the original was supposed to be, and they took that sample of that key and threw it back in because they didn't want to necessarily throw it away. Because I find myself doing that with some of my songs. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, these lyrics sound really good on it, but also these lyrics sound really good on it. And so like I save it as a different project for like later on after I'm done with this album to like go back and work with something. So maybe Vessel kind of works the same way
Mm.
my brain works, and in that kind of sense, I've heard other artists mention about it too. I just can't think off the top of my head, but it could have been as simple as that too. And then that's what sparked the idea of referencing back to those other songs, because Sleep Token songs are so long too that they probably just like snowball with ideas and you have to cut it off at some point, but they don't want to throw it away necessarily. Again, that could be a reach too, but that's kind of my thought with that whole thing.
Yeah. It could be. I don't really think it's that far off though. But I mean, there's a lot of deciphering, and like honestly, music like this with a bunch of poetic lyricism and everything does have potential to have a lot of substance there. However, we won't ever know because Vessel won't talk to us. Maybe in 20 years
Right.
when he finally outs himself as who he actually is and everything, we'll finally be able to be like, excuse me, Mr. Vessel, can we ask you some questions just about your back like behind the scenes process? And he'll just be like, yep, I'm putting this mask back on. Bye. Bye. It was fun while it lasted. Bye. But yeah, anyways, are you going to the Worcester show for Sleep Token?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, all you folks that are listening at home and watching on Twitch and everything, If you can find tickets for Sleep Token, great. You probably won't be able to without paying like an arm and a leg, but good luck. So what ended up
If you're
happening
going to
is
the Palladium in Worcester, find us. We'll be
I
there.
really, yeah, we're planning on getting there early. I am a little scared about it, but that's not the point. But what I will say for those folks that are listening and for those folks that are watching, Sleep Token has their North American rituals with opener A.A. Williams. If you can find a ticket, you could probably find a ticket somewhere. It's a little bit hard to, especially with dumb scalpers, but you can find one. The reason why I say that is because the entire tour is sold out. They actually sold out, and this is kind of how their popularity absolutely exploded. They sold out their entire tour the day the shows went on sale, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is why when I got my pre-sale code, I bought tickets like immediately because I was like, this is gonna sell out. I have a bad feeling about it. And I also had a bad feeling when Bad Omens sold out their show. But no, they have sold out the entire tour. And I'm not just talking about like 3 or 4 dates. The entire tour is completely sold out. So you can find a ticket. There are ways to do it. I would say if you're going to try to find a ticket, look for every single website, look for some groups and everything if you're really invested to try to get to that show. Because there's going to be some out there, but it's a grind to try and get sold out ticket shows. It really is. But either way, we'll cap that. Emily, thank you very much for being here. Samantha, thank you very much for being here. You live with me, so I figured you should probably be here and also listen to Sleep Token too.
She didn't have a choice.
Yes. Thank you folks for watching at home on Twitch. Thank you folks for listening on the Impossible end. Make sure you hit follow on Twitch. I'm at twitch.tv/eimpossible if you're listening. And if you're watching, my podcast will be available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever podcasts are made available. You'll see that posted on all my socials. But appreciate you guys being here, and be good to yourselves along the way. Bye!
Bye.
You've got me in a choo, wow, 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 choo, 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 wow, wow. What are you still doing here? Go listen to Take Me Back to Eden.